every story has a happy ever after. And after this story, there's an after party.
Okay, cool. It's recording now. So,
cool.
do you want to know what I did instead
What?
of rewatching these episodes?
You read the wiki? Because that's what I did.
Well, I read the wiki. I watched these 2 episodes last week, and then instead of rewatching them, I rewatched Midsummer, and I was very happy because I think that movie is beautiful. It made me cry, but I think it made me cry for the reasons that like most people didn't cry.
Mhm.
Uh,
We watched Ready or Not. We did not cry, but it was
Yeah.
really good.
that's
I've been
awesome.
going through Faculty of Horror's best horror movies of last year pretty slowly and surely because, horror inside, horror outside,
Mm-hmm.
Let's get topical. I keep on expecting to look out my apartment window and see like Mad Max Fury Road going on or Handmaid's Tale. One of the two.
Well, you know what? If you go down to Giant Eagle or Shop and Save, you'll find it. It's kind of both.
Oh my god, it's so dumb. But-
So welcome to Happy Ever After Party. For the first time ever, we are quarantining ourselves from each other. I'm Sam
Yep.
Logsden.
I am in an undisclosed location and still Amanda Pierce, though.
Yes, and even though we're apart, we're still connected because both of us have our cats on our laps.
I was about to say I have special guest stars Xenu and Ramirez who are guarding the apartment from any rovers or purgers who might be trying to break in and steal our toilet paper.
I just have Puck with me right now, but we might have the special appearance. Whoop. Puckaroo. Oh my goodness. He's recording. He's nuzzing up against the microphone.
The boys
and
aren't
special-
recording, they're just sitting in the window.
Yeah, the other animals might make an appearance. Danny might even make an appearance. Who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
Dennis was trying to make an appearance. He was trying to distract me in the doorway. It didn't work. I'm
Dennis,
not
get
gonna
out of
say
here.
what he was doing.
Nobody wants to know.
No, no one wants
You-
to know. I don't
Your
want to know.
unicorn husband just can keep to himself.
Yes, he can.
So we're doing another back-to-back episode,
Yeah, you know what?
like we did a little while ago, because nothing happens for 2 episodes in Once Upon a Time.
I was
Uh,
just thinking, like, watching this episode and reading the wiki again. Sam, at every party, family gathering, bar mitzvah, you're always on about Hansel and Gretel, and we say, shut up, Sam, nobody wants to hear it. This is your one chance now to really get out all the thoughts you have about Hansel and Gretel that you've never been able to say before now. So just go. You can just go by yourself for like 40 minutes about everything you think and feel about this story. So, I'm just going to let you have it.
You know what? You didn't listen to that episode that I did by myself. I already did a whole thing on Hansel and Gretel. I don't want to
Oh,
repeat
shit.
myself. You know
Oh,
what I want
crap.
to talk about?
Huh.
I want to talk about the Blind Witch, because that was
Oh,
the
she
most
was pretty
interesting
pretty.
thing that happened.
I liked her. I liked her outfit.
So let's just get into the fairy tale portion of the
Mhm.
episode, because that was visually more interesting than what happens in Storybrooke. In Storybrooke, we have a little bit of a mirrored tale going on that the show makes us feel like we should care about, and we don't.
Yep.
There's a little bit of plot stuff
Mhm.
that happens, barely, but it's like right at the end. So we're just going to start with the fairy tale aspect of it first and go from there. We get to see the story of Hansel and Gretel. Their father does in fact abandon them in the woods, much like in the original fairy tale. But it has to do with Regina coaxing him to do it,
Mhm.
sort of.
Yeah, you feel like something nefarious happened because he seems like a pretty good dad otherwise. And they wrote
Yeah,
out the evil stepmother because they do that a lot now. I've noticed they kind of write out other evil stepmothers and either make the
yeah,
evil stepmother Regina or just don't have the story without it. Because I think they're like, we have too much evil stepmother with Regina.
yeah. Mom is just MIA. In the Storybrooke portion of the story, she's just dead. She died
Hmm.
giving birth to them. I actually would probably assume that that's what happens in the fairy tale portion. They just wrote it differently for
Hmm.
reasons. Um, but yeah, Regina comes across Hansel and Gretel, and at first you're like, aha, instead of there being a witch that lives in a candy house, Regina's the witch. That's
Hmm.
clever. Nope. We still get our lovely gingerbread house, and uh the reason why the kids end up going in the house is because they need to get something from this witch.
Regina needs them to get something because
Yes.
there's magic so that she can't go in.
Yeah.
And she tells them not to eat anything.
And then they pull a Persephone and totally eat something.
Eat a
The little boy
giant
does.
cupcake because he's an idiot.
Yeah. And there was no reason for him to be dumb.
Yeah, except for that cupcake looked pretty yummy, I'm not gonna lie.
A lot of stuff looked good. Like, um, when I talked about Hansel and Gretel witch hunters, I did
Hmm.
talk about the candy house there, and the way that that was designed was super cool. The house in here kind of sucked, but the set design on the inside was pretty fun. Fun
It
and
made me
elaborate.
hungry, but you know.
Y- It's like if you're like me and you like to look at pretty bakery stuff on Instagram,
Yeah, oh, I
it'll
do.
do something for you.
Yeah, there's nothing I like more than looking at nice pastries, and I've been looking at macaroons and debating spending that amount of money on anything.
You could just make them at home.
It sounds like a lot of
They're
work.
not going to be pretty. I
Sounds like a
mean,
lot of work.
I'll make them for you.
Sweet.
They'll be ugly as sin, but they'll be delicious.
I don't care. I just want to nom them in my face hole.
Um,
Oh, and their dad
s-
gives them that compass too. They're like, it'll
oh,
help you
well,
find me, and I'm like, no, it'll
hold,
help you find north.
hold on.
Yeah.
We're putting a pin in that.
I just didn't want to forget it because it's relevant in the real world
It's
too.
relevant in Storybrooke.
Hey, Catleaf.
So, yeah, but before Dad abandons them in the woods, he gives them that compass to not be idiots and get lost in the woods. And that is
Hmm.
in fact not what happens. They
Oh,
they
and
they they are
they crack it too. Is the other thing
yeah,
that's kind of sort of relevant.
that is almost relevant. Um, so Regina picks them up, makes them go into the house, and they were doing really good. They got the mysterious black bag that they were supposed to find, and then fucking Hansel eats a cupcake, and then they get imprisoned by the blind witch, who I can only describe as the love child of Blind Mag and Sarah Jessica Parker in Hocus Pocus.
Yeah,
If those two
that's what I was
had
thinking
a
too.
had like a star child witch, that's what it would be like. So a typical Hansel and Gretel story, she tries to fatten them up, and then they lock her in an oven. They don't burn her.
Yeah,
It's
and
even
she's
better than that.
gravy or butter, gravy or butter.
Oh my God.
That's like
That's like
all she
all she
keeps on repeating.
repeats. Like, how am I going to cook these children with gravy or butter?
Yep.
They managed to lock her in the oven, not burn her. I'll come back to it. Uh, they go to the Regina, they give her the bag, and what's inside the bag is a very shiny apple, a shiny red apple
The
that
only
we
health
know,
food in that entire house.
yes, um, this very special apple.
Hmm.
Um, she basically yeets the kids into another dimension.
Well, they refuse because she's like, well, your
She
father
offers
left
them
you.
to stay in the castle because she doesn't have any biological children, and she's just like, really bad at relationships. She
She
had
just
one,
She
She
wants
had
to be
one
the
good
creepy
one.
guy from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang
Yes.
and lure children.
Yeah. The child snatcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Candy,
Oh God.
chocolates.
So low key, I kind of love Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I love that movie.
I know some people don't have the patience for like the really long live action Disney movies from like the 60s, but I just got done watching Bedknobs and Broomsticks recently.
I love Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. But that isn't Disney, is it?
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I believe. It might be Disney owned. Bedknobs and
Oh.
Broomsticks definitely is. I would
Oh,
have
the
to look into.
screenplay was written by Roald Dahl. That's why it's good.
Oh, that actually makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But we can't talk about
Um,
Roald Dahl. We have to talk about
Nope,
once.
United Artists, not Disney. Features.
All right. Yeah, thank you for that. So yeah,
Lures them to
she offers the kids to
never-ending
stay in her
forest.
house. And then they're like, "No, we want to see our dad." And she's like, "GTFO," and sends them into the middle of nowhere, lost. The dad comes around and let's see here.
Well, the kids say basically what the show has always said. It kind of backpedals on everything. And they're like, no, family is everything. And our father might have abandoned us, but he's still our dad, and we have to stay with him. Like, I know
Yikes.
Regina's evil, and she's clearly evil because her interior designer made it evil. But
I was going to
Okay.
say she already has 2 tally marks against her on the morality tally chart.
yeah.
So that's all we have to go off of right now. She's definitely evil. There's
Mhm.
currently no good or neutral stuff yet.
Yeah,
but
that
we'll
might
get
change this episode, I feel.
Yeah, it might. So she eats them into oblivion, and by oblivion I just mean the forest.
Yeah, it's like
It's not
called,
entirely
like, the
clear which
never-ending
forest it is. Huh?
They mention it later, Rumpelstiltskin does. It's called like the Endless Forest or the Forever Forest or something like that.
Yeah. The Enchanted Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's basically a huge-ass forest.
Yeah. And she basically does the same thing to their father, too, for being
Mhm.
like, yo, do you want to help me? Because I can return you to your kids. And then, he's just in another corner of the Enchanted Forest. And they do, in fact, get reunited, just not there. They get reunited in Storybrooke. But before we get into that, I do have one last thing to say about the fairy tale portion of this.
Mm-hmm.
Regina looks into the mirror and sees that the blind witch is in the oven, trapped. And through the mirror, she sends a fireball into the oven to burn the witch. And she says, I would have gone with gravy.
Yep.
If I was counting the fairy tale portion of Regina's actions on the morality tally chart, I would have put that under that's evil. But
Yeah,
that goes against my rules. The Tinfoil Rabbit Hole is a unique storytelling experience with distinctive presentation and sly style. Stephen, as the White Rabbit, pushes the boundaries of the narrative docuspiracy shows by digging deep into the rabbit hole of the internet to bring you stories from around the world and beyond, fact or fiction, true or false, believable or unbelievable. The slightly offbeat production is a unique narrative that will draw you deep into the rabbit hole every week. You can listen to the Tinfoil Rabbit Hole on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, InsensitiveNetwork.com, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So, Storybrooke. Amanda, do
Storybrooke.
you want to take the reins on this?
Yeah, I'll kind of sort of take the reins on this. So it starts off with Henry reading a comic book in a pharmacy kind of place because he has
Ooh.
no life.
But what kind of comic book is it? Would it happen to be a Marvel comic?
Wasn't it Marvel? Oh yeah, it was
It was.
Wolverine.
It was the Hulk.
It was the Hulk versus Wolverine,
Yep.
I think. I
Yep.
don't know. But a girl comes up to him and starts, for lack of a better word, distracting him. And her brother comes over and they're like, hey, you want to hang out with us? And he's like, sure. So they leave and the pharmacist stops them and there's a whole bunch of stolen goods in Henry's backpack because the kids were throwing stuff in his backpack while the girl was distracting him by being a girl.
Yeah, they were basically making him their mule.
Yeah, Regina comes in and it's like, no, that my son wouldn't shoplift. He doesn't even eat candy. And Emma comes in and Regina's like, the fuck. And Emma's like, I got it. I'm the sheriff now. I gotta sheriff things. And she sees that the kids are stealing like essentials like food and like candy and toothpaste.
Her orphan
And
sense starts tingling.
yeah, her empathy starts tingling. So she says she'll drive them home. And she lets them get out. And she follows them because Emma has that spidey sense when people are lying. And it turns out the little kids are homeless, their mother's dead, they never knew their father. And then she takes them back to Mary Margaret's place. Longest story short, Regina wants Emma to take them to Boston to go to two separate orphanages. One for boys, one for girls. And Emma's like, I don't want them to be separated. All they have is each other. So she decides to try to find the biological father who has not been in their lives. She takes the little, this is why it's relevant, the little compass thing that was cracked.
Oh, hold on.
She takes that to Mr. Gold. So the reason
And Mr. Gold's like, I know who did it. He gives her a name.
Yeah.
But the way that he does
it on
is
the card, and there was nothing on the card. He just knows.
Yeah. He just knew exactly where to go. Because
so that, to kind of divot for a second, is important because, like we said in the last episode, that proves that the fairy tale world is still real and is chronologically before this. You know, because that thing was cracked in the fairy tale world and looked exactly the same and remained in the possession of Gretel. And now we are in the bunny quotes present day, and she still has that and it is still cracked. So we have a physical thing now that came from the fairy tale world that is in the real world that's not magical like Graham's heart, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like an enchanted item. It's just like an item.
And that also kind of starts to get a little bit muddled at a certain point. I can't remember how many episodes it is after this, but there's also that thing about like what travels from the fairy tale world, how much of the fairy tale world was taken into Storybrooke. So it's something to think about because right now it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, I think I know what you're alluding to, but I'm not gonna ruin it.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it either, but like some episodes do a better job of doing this than others, and this is one that does it pretty good.
So she gets the name, and the guy is a mechanic and has no interest in his kids. He does, in fact, confirm that he is their father when he sees the little compass. And he's like, yeah, it was a one-time thing. And I was like, sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
To get stuck with twins.
Yeah. And it's like...
Henry tells them they're Hansel and Gretel, too. He also is like, I know who they are.
Yeah, no shit, Henry. We figured that out long before you did.
Because once again, we have to have Henry in this show. They keep on finding reasons to write him in. And everyone is just like, no, we don't need him. Please, just leave him out.
It gets... it gets better for a little while and then it gets really worse. Like
I
I
love how
kind of
little he
I
is in
I
the
was
second half.
I was scrolling through the seasons and kind of like the synopses of all of them, and like I think you're literally gonna have an aneurysm when we get to
No.
season 7.
Yay. Well, at
Mm.
the rate we're going, that'll be like 20 years from now, so maybe I'll be senile.
Oh, I hope so.
But, I mean, she has to go and drive the kids to Boston, and the dad ends up changing his mind when they're about to leave Storybrooke and decides he's going to keep the kids.
Well, the reason why that happens is because the car breaks down right at the border at the end of Storybrooke,
Uh-huh.
and you need a mechanic to get the car
Mm-hmm.
out of that situation,
And
and the kids are in the back of the car.
it also kind of
It was
air
cinematic
quotes
as
breaks
fuck.
down.
Yeah.
If I remember it right, it kind of like breaks down, but not really, maybe.
This is like straight out of Lifetime.
Yeah.
Like the music that's playing and like the puppy dog faces the kids are making in the back of the car and the way Emma's talking to him, and not to shit on Emma too much, but the fact that she was like, "Hey, listen, I just had my kid come back into my life and I made a lot of changes." And it's like, honey, these are twins.
Yeah. This guy is a mechanic in a small, small town. Like, I'm sure he makes enough money, but it's like, hey, congratulations, you're suddenly awarded with like two 12-year-olds.
Yeah. So Emma Swan can take a seat. She can
They're
take all
about to enter the most difficult part of their life. Congratulations, here you go.
Ugh.
But yeah, she talks him into it, is really it. She's like, it's important that they deserve to at least see their father, and she wanted him to, like, the way she does it is so dirty, because she's like, you needed to see them before they left. Like, you needed to see their face and tell them to their face you didn't want them.
Yeah.
Basically, is how it comes across. And Emma is kind of a monster in this whole episode.
Yeah, I have a big problem with the way that she handled the situation. Because to call it's not hypocritical. That's not the right word. It's like there's like a huge lack of self-awareness.
Uh-huh. And especially because
that comes
this
across.
is also the episode where she straight up lies to Henry about his father.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because she tells him that he was a firefighter and he died firefighting.
Fires.
And not 5 minutes later, Mary Margaret and her are talking, and she's like, his dad was an asshole. He didn't die in a fire. I have no idea what happened to him. And Mary Margaret's like, you're going to tell him the truth, right? And Emma's like, sure, my dear. Would I lie? And then she does.
Yeah, and then she says, like, oh, he was all, like, she throws in a whole bunch of stupid details. Like, he always complained we didn't have pumpkin pie. So it makes it seem more feasible, essentially. She throws in a bunch of stupid little details about this guy.
Yeah.
And she lies to him. And while she's like, biological parents are the most important thing in the world, but I'm going to lie to my kid about his dad. Emma.
Yeah, especially after last episode, this was incredibly disappointing to see, because she had something of a redeemable arc in the Rumpelstiltskin episode, but she's kind of reverting back to how she was when we first met her, which was, and don't get me wrong, I like an unreliable narrator. I don't like an unreliable mother figure when the crux of this whole show is trying to hammer into us the importance of biological family.
Yeah, and then she plays so dirty all the time with it. It's just like, oh, well, I trump you because I'm his biological mom. And it happens so often in this show, and you're supposed to empathize with her. And I'm like, I don't, though.
And it's even worse because you'll have, like the kids sticking out for their father.
Mm-hmm.
Now, admittedly, he was good and did not mean to leave them there. Like, the father was genuinely a good person. So them sticking out for him, when you know that, makes sense. But from their perspective, they have no reason to be like, well, he's still our dad and we trust
This
him.
guy could be
They
a
didn't know that.
pedophile or a felon. Like, this guy could be anything. And suddenly they just belong to him. Like,
it again, as a step parent, this show really pisses me off sometimes.
they do more background checks when you're adopting a cat. Like the stubby one right here.
Basically. Puckaroo left the room.
The puck has left the room. The only kind of two things that happen in this episode in the real world that remain are, at one point, Emma fishes out her baby blanket that says Emma on it. That is what Snow White wrapped her in before she went through the tree.
Yes.
And Mary Margaret has a brief interaction with the blanket and then kind of shakes off whatever emotion she seems to have attached to it. She takes it up wonderingly and then kind of shakes her head and puts it down.
Now, the other thing that happens is we get introduced to a new character.
Yay!
Who is it? We don't know, because he's an asshole.
I almost could have said his name.
Well, he shows up to town on a motorcycle, and he's asking Emma for a place to stay. And Emma's like, what did you say your name was? And he's like, I didn't give it. And then drives off all badassly. And we'll talk about him more eventually. But that's all I'm going to say right now.
You haven't seemed to have an issue with him. I have no issue with this character. I kind of like him.
Don't have an issue.
The actor who plays him is cute and pretty good.
I don't have an issue with him. It's just he is an asshole in the show. He has an asshole-like attitude, and there is a very good reason for it. And knowing what's going to happen, the fact that he acts the way he does, I don't have a problem with it. I'm calling spade a spade. He is an asshole.
No, he definitely has more than his fair share of asshole moments. But unlike Emma, they don't try to make him the moral right.
No,
he's ambiguous. He's ambiguous, is what I mean to say. Oh god.
Words.
I'm not even cold medicining. I just have some whiskey and Coke.
I have coffee, and I just got done drinking the last Sprite in the house. There's no ginger ale, and I dread going to the store.
This is the first happy ever after party that actually has alcohol in it, so yay. And it's not much, but it's something.
I'm giving this episode 2 apples.
2? This is out of 5, right? Yeah, we agreed out of 5. Yeah, I can give it 2.
Yeah, mainly for the Blind Witch. The fairy tale portion of this was cool, but
it had some visually interesting aspects of it. Regina continues to look better than she did in the first part of this series, except for her alarmingly fake hair in the woods.
Oh god!
Then I'm like, wow, that is.
It's like the rest of the outfit is kind of cool.
Yeah,
and then when you notice that, when you notice that like half of it is obviously her real hair, and the other half doesn't match the color at all. It's like, and it's not like a deliberate like, oh look, half of my hair is pink and half of my hair is blue. It's like it's black and almost black.
Yeah. It's like black brown, like her natural hair is like black brown, and then it is just blue black.
Yeah, like a raven black. Ugh.
Also, Lana Parrilla, Instagram update, she's wearing a medicine mask and gloves and giving the middle finger.
Oh, good for her.
That's her most recent post. And it says Happy
nice.
Friday the 13th, hashtag coronavirus.
That's our fucking week, ladies and gentlemen.
That's my queen.
Yes.
I'm not mad about it.
So, like I said before, we're doing back-to-back reviews because very little happens in the overarching plot. Like, there's little
Yeah.
things that happen, but nothing grandiose.
Yeah.
So the name of the following episode is 7:15 a.m.
Oh, okay, this episode.
Yeah.
This is one that I haven't rewatched recently, but I just remembered the reasons because I don't care.
Nobody cares. I can sum up what happens in Storybrooke
Mhm.
by basically saying if you've ever seen a romantic comedy ever in your
Mhm.
life,
Mhm.
you have seen this episode. The will they, won't they of David and Mary Margaret kind of
Continues.
comes to a head here because
Ramirez,
they
don't
keep on
step on the
bumping
phone.
into
I'm
each other
sorry.
at 7:15 a.m. at Granny's, not
Mhm.
talking to each other, or except for like occasional pleasantries.
All
And
you
then
know
later
is
on
Mary
admitting that they're both
Margaret.
stalking each other.
Yeah, Mary Margaret says she goes in every morning at 7:15 to see him, and then he later on goes, I go in at 7:15 every morning to see you.
Yeah, so that's what happens.
And there's a bird. There's a
And
bird
there's
plot.
the fuck that bird.
Yeah, I don't care
No
about
one
the
cares.
bird.
Nothing. There's like a pregnancy scare, and there's like some stuff that happens with the stranger on the motorcycle who we still don't really know his name yet. And they try to get us to care about that a little bit, but then, uh-oh, David and Mary Margaret drama.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it. That's all that happens in Storybrooke.
They
you know what this
romance
was?
cliche themselves into a cabin in the middle of a storm.
Again, I don't care. This
Yeah, no,
was
I was just saying in the vein of it does romance cliche,
Yes.
rom-com cliche.
Yeah, rom-com. These two are isolated in a storm. They have nowhere to go, so they need to get feelings out. And
they don't even have the decency to bang.
They don't have the budget.
They don't have the TV rating.
You know what? I'm perfectly okay with them having a platonic relationship. I don't want to imagine either one of them having sex.
Especially Mary Margaret. Even Dennis pointed out her ears a couple episodes when we watched one episode. He's like, something's up with her ears.
So here's the thing. Jennifer Gooden, she is a good actress, and this show kind of taints her range.
So
like I've seen her in other things, and when she's given a good script, she carries it well. Mary Margaret as a character has nothing.
I don't
nothing.
know if I've seen her in anything else, but I was watching a Nostalgia Critic episode recently about Spider-Man, where he talks about Kristen Dunst, who's a very good actress.
Yes.
And he's like, I was wondering why she was like so bad in this. And he's like, I realized it's because they've given her nothing to do other than smile and be nice.
Yes.
And that's kind of Mary Margaret in this. She's like crying out for character depth or direction, but she's just like, yeah, you gotta smile and be nice. Snow White, you know?
That's why I like it whenever she's like a little bit sassy.
Yeah, I mean, I like sass anywhere I can get it. But
And I'm going to let you talk about the fairy tale portion of this because some things happen. And incidentally, don't even talk about the Prince Charming and Snow White portion of it.
There's like, other stuff that happens.
There's other stuff that happens that are way more important as a consequence of Snow White and Prince James. That happens. But other than that, there's a tragic death scene that I'm much interested in talking about.
Well, I'm gonna kind of breeze by and bring us up to there. So,
okay, let's strap in.
Snow White can't be with Prince Charming, so she via Red finds Rumpelstiltskin. He gives her a potion to forget all about Prince Charming because she has heartache. And in exchange, he takes one of her hairs and puts it in a bottle. You don't know for what.
You know what? This is not going to get unpinned for now, but we'll unpin it later.
We'll unpin it a couple episodes from now when it matters.
Yes.
Prince Charming sends her a dove saying, like, if you still love me, come and see me and I won't get married. That gets essentially it gets intercepted. Snow White gets taken prisoner in the castle, thrown into a dungeon where she encounters Grumpy.
Yes.
So Grumpy and her have rapport. Grumpy says that he essentially has a lost love too. And they kind of make nice. And then Grumpy is broken out by Stealthy, who is a new dwarf.
Stealthy?
Yeah.
That's a dwarf I've never heard of before.
Don't worry, you won't hear of him for much longer. So they break Snow White out because she wishes him well or something. She's like, good luck finding your love. And he's like, ugh, this bitch. So he breaks her out. And in the same courtyard they use for every single castle in this show, it is the same courtyard. There is the same bale of hay that's there in every single one. I watch it in the same spot, in the same courtyard, no matter where we're at.
Again, I'm pretty sure it's nailed down.
I'm pretty sure it's not even real hay.
Is it CGI
CG
hay? CG hay?
No, I got a kitty cat paw. I'm sorry. Don't worry. Stealthy gets shot and killed in front of them.
And it is literally the saddest thing that happens in the show for now.
It's the only thing that makes me care in this episode a little bit, kind of. I'm holding a cat paw. I'm sorry. Hey, buddy. Sorry, I got distracted by cute.
That's okay, because that's it.
That's it. Oh, no. Snow White arranges to let Grumpy go. And the king says you have to go and break his heart. And so she goes and meets the prince, says she doesn't love him. And then does she take the... Yeah.
No, stop.
What?
You're forgetting that after she dumps him, the dwarves are grieving the loss of their brother. And she is grieving for a breakup. And they treat it with the same caliber. And then she lives with the dwarves, and the prince eventually finds out.
Not taking the potion.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you need to process this like a real person.
And suffering makes you who you are. It's not just the good things who make you who you are, it's the bad as well.
Exactly.
So she agrees not to take the potion today.
That day.
She does. That's how it ends.
And then the prince does in fact find out that, she was forced to say that, and he calls off his wedding, and the whole kingdom finds out about this. And Grumpy's like, hey, Snow, did you hear? Prince James isn't getting married. And she's like,
who?
Prince James. And then we see
the empty vial.
Yes.
She drank it. So she was like, who? This is, honestly, it's not in this episode, but it leads up to one of my favorite parts of Snow White. And I'm happy it exists.
Me too.
But he also, Prince Charming has his line, his Taken line.
Yes, I saw that meme, and I had to post it.
I was saving it. I found the meme and I was going to send it to you when he said it in this episode, but you shared it and I'm not mad.
I'm going to use that meme a lot. I think that's actually going to be...
Find her.
It's going to be the meme I share when we talk about David and Mary Margaret.
Oh, God.
Because there's going to be a couple of episodes that heavily revolve around them. And I would like to say that this is probably important. But you know what? They repeat themselves so goddamn much. This episode does not matter. They needed to
Yeah.
get to 22 episodes. They didn't have enough material, so they farted this one out.
Yeah. There's not even anything really that happens with the stranger whose name we still don't have in this. They're just kind of suspicious of him.
Yeah,
And he talks to
because
Henry
he's
for a
strange.
bit.
I think we do learn that he's a writer.
Oh, does she convince him to open up the box?
Not this episode, but he says to Henry.
Because he does have a mysterious box.
He has a mysterious box, and you don't see it opened this episode, but I think in the next episode or two.
Yeah.
Because folks, these 2 episodes were stinkers. This episode, I'm giving like
One.
maybe one with a tiny bite out of it.
Like
Like
less
it's not.
than
I'm
one?
not giving it. It's not like a half an apple, but it's like an apple that I found in the fridge that has been
You
sitting
don't
there for a
remember
while.
buying?
Huh?
Like where that you don't remember buying?
I don't remember where I got it. It's kind of mushy, and I could turn it into a pie if I really wanted to, but it's the only apple that I have,
Or
and like,
or Hey Sam?
or a tart.
Or an apple turnover?
If you keep talking like that, I'm gonna bake you one.
Illusions
Huh.
to the future. Apple turnovers.
So
they're
yeah,
so good though. Sorry.
folks, these were 2 stinkers.
Yeah,
I
they
do
weren't
have
very
good
good.
news. The next
next
couple of
one's great.
episodes are good.
I don't know about the next couple, but I know the next one's great.
The next one's great, and there's I can't remember when it is, but I think somewhere in like the next 3 or 4 episodes is my favorite episode of the season.
Oh my god, yeah, we do have some good episodes coming up. She
Yeah.
says as she quickly
And they're
flips
all
through
kind of lined
Wikipedia.
up. They're
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited.
Good news, everyone. We won't have to be dealing with Prince Charming and Snow White for a minute.
I know. And again,
Or
I
Henry.
sincerely, when the show is good, it is good. And I mean, I think there's an episode that made me cry coming up.
There's a couple.
Yeah, there's an episode
But I'm
that
also just a mushy person.
yeah, so we had to cram these 2 together because there was just no substance to go on. But tune in next time, and you're in for some quality stuff.
Damn straight.
We might get up to 3 apples. I can tell you that there's going to be one that I'm giving a 5.
Yeah, there definitely is.
There
I
might
already
be
know which
2.
one.
There might be
There
2
might
that
be
I'm giving
2.
5.
There might be 3. Holy crap.
Yeah.
There's actually a good... Yeah, I'm not going to
Yeah.
say anything because I don't want to say anything.
Exactly.
Because the next slew of episodes, this kind of mid-season jaunt is pretty good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm
So,
not mad about it at all, for once.
until next time, I'm Sam Logston.
I'm Amanda Pierce.
Might not be the end,
It might not be happy.
but you are always welcome to this party. Take care.
Do, 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 do.